Josh Duggar, the once prominent reality TV star and eldest son of the Duggar family featured on TLC's 19 Kids and Counting, is once again making headlines. This time, the attention stems from a new legal development in his ongoing attempts to overturn his 2022 conviction on federal charges of receiving and possessing child pornography. On May 27, 2025, Duggar, 37, submitted a handwritten letter to the judge overseeing his case, formally requesting the appointment of a new attorney. He claims that his financial resources have been depleted and that he can no longer afford legal representation. Duggar is currently serving a 12-year sentence in federal prison. "I am unable to afford counsel due to my current financial circumstances," Duggar wrote in the letter obtained by People. The request signals yet another chapter in the long, controversial saga of Josh Duggar, a figure whose personal and legal troubles have drawn widespread media attention for nearly a decade. 2. Duggar's legal argument. In the letter, Duggar emphasizes that his request is not merely procedural, but is based on alleged constitutional issues in his case. He argues that his trial was flawed, citing a range of legal concerns, including errors in the admission of forensic evidence, strategic decisions made during trial proceedings, the possibility of withheld evidence by the prosecution, overwhelming media scrutiny, potentially affecting the fairness of the process. As time has unfolded, new legal theories and strategies have emerged in public discourse that may be relevant to the defendant's case, the documents state. Duggar also said he hopes to pursue a motion to vacate, set aside, or correct his conviction and sentence. These statements suggest Duggar is preparing to file what is known in legal terms as a 2255 motion, a post-conviction relief petition that allows federal inmates to challenge their convictions on constitutional grounds. 3. Legal experts weigh in. To better understand the implications of Duggar's request, we spoke with multiple legal experts familiar with federal criminal appeals. Professor Elaine Willard, a legal scholar specializing in criminal procedure at the University of Arkansas, says Duggar's motion faces an uphill battle. The bar for overturning a federal conviction is extremely high, especially in a case where the evidence was so thoroughly examined during trial, Willard said. Unless there's new, compelling evidence or proof of a serious constitutional violation, courts are generally reluctant to vacate a sentence. Another expert, criminal defense attorney Jacob Rourke, noted that Duggar's reference to emerging legal strategies is vague and speculative. The law evolves, sure, but unless he can identify a specific error tied to a newly recognized legal principle such as a recent Supreme Court ruling, it's unlikely a judge will entertain a new hearing, let alone reverse the conviction, Rourke said. 4. The financial question. Duggar's claim that he can no longer afford legal counsel may come as a surprise to those familiar with the Duggar family's public image and former media presence. At the height of their reality TV fame, the Duggars were reportedly earning hundreds of thousands of dollars annually from TLC. Josh Duggar himself owned and operated a used car business and was involved in various conservative political advocacy organizations before his criminal charges. But since his arrest, financial disclosures and testimonies have suggested that his income streams have dried up. Under federal law, defendants who demonstrate that they are indigent can request that the court appoint them counsel, typically from the Federal Public Defender's Office or a court-approved private attorney paid at government expense. News of Duggar's latest legal maneuver has once again sparked widespread debate online and in the media. Social platforms lit up with a mixture of outrage, skepticism, and support, often split along ideological lines. Critics, including advocates for survivors of child abuse, were quick to condemn Duggar's actions, viewing them as an attempt to escape accountability. "This is yet another insult to the victims of child pornography," wrote one user on X, formerly Twitter. "He was convicted with overwhelming evidence. Why should the taxpayers fund his fishing expedition for loopholes?" Supporters, many of whom continue to identify with the Duggar family's religious message and conservative values, argue that Duggar deserves every legal avenue to prove his innocence. "Even guilty people have rights," wrote another commenter. "If there's a chance that mistakes were made, it's only fair to review the case." Major media outlets such as CNN, Fox News, and the Associated Press have all covered the development, renewing the public's fascination and, in many cases, revulsion with the Duggar saga. 6. The Duggar family's response. Thus far, members of the Duggar family have been largely silent regarding Josh's latest legal filing. This marks a departure from earlier periods of his legal journey, when various family members, including parents Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, publicly supported their son. Over time, however, that support appears to have waned. Some of Josh's siblings, including Jill Dillard, née Duggar, and Jinger Vuolo, have distanced themselves from both Josh and the family's broader legacy. In her 2023 memoir, Becoming Free Indeed, Jinger described her family's fundamentalist upbringing and criticized aspects of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, the controversial religious organization her parents followed. There was so much that was hidden, so much we were told to ignore or cover up, Jinger wrote. 7. A history of controversy. Josh Duggar's legal troubles did not begin with the 2022 child pornography conviction. His past is riddled with scandals that go back more than a decade. 2006, allegations surfaced that Josh had molested several of his sisters and a family babysitter when he was a teenager. These reports did not become public until 2015, causing TLC to cancel 19 Kids and Counting. 2015, Duggar admitted to infidelity and pornography addiction after being named in the Ashley Madison leak, a website facilitating extramarital affairs. 2019, Homeland Security raided Duggar's used car dealership as part of a federal investigation, which later led to his arrest in April 2021. All of these incidents have led to a deep fracture within the Duggar family and a growing backlash against the fundamentalist values they once represented to millions of Americans. 8. The trial and conviction. Josh Duggar was convicted in December 2021 after a high-profile trial. Prosecutors presented forensic evidence that showed Duggar had downloaded and possessed images and videos depicting the sexual abuse of children, some as young as toddlers. The content was found on a work computer at his dealership, hidden behind a partition and password-protected software. Prosecutors called it some of the worst material ever seen by investigators. Despite arguments from his defense team suggesting that another person could have accessed the device, the jury deliberated for only a few hours before delivering a guilty verdict. In May 2022, Duggar was sentenced to 151 months, 12 years and 7 months, in federal prison and was ordered to pay fines. He was sent to FCI Segoville, a federal facility in Texas known for housing sex offenders. 9. Post-conviction actions. Since entering prison, Duggar has filed several appeals. His first post-conviction appeal was rejected by the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals in 2023. In that decision, the court upheld the conviction and found no basis to question the trial judge's rulings on evidence or procedure. With most of his direct appeal options now exhausted, Duggar's latest filing suggests he is pivoting toward post-conviction relief, which is often viewed as a long-shot method of challenging a conviction once all standard appeals have failed. Duggar's request for a court-appointed attorney will first require a judge to assess his financial status. If he is deemed indigent, the court will assign him legal counsel, who may then help him prepare a motion under 28 U.S.C. Section 2255. Such motions are rarely successful and must demonstrate a fundamental error that would have changed the outcome of the trial. Common examples include ineffective assistance of counsel, newly discovered exculpatory evidence, government misconduct. Even if Duggar clears that bar, the court may still deny a hearing if the claims are not deemed credible or material. 11. Broader implications. Josh Duggar's case has become emblematic of broader concerns around celebrity, religion, accountability, and justice. It raises questions about the influence of fame in criminal proceedings, the role of the media in shaping public perception, the difficulties survivors of sexual abuse face in receiving justice, how religious communities respond to scandal in their ranks. Organizations that combat child exploitation have used the Duggar case as an example in educational campaigns and calls for stronger legislation. Josh Duggar's legal fight is far from over, even as he serves out a lengthy prison sentence. His latest request underscores the enduring complexity of his case, the public fascination with his downfall, and the stark consequences of his actions. Whether or not his appeal succeeds, the legacy of his choices and the pain inflicted on victims remains an indelible part of his story. In a new legal twist that has reignited public attention around one of reality television's most controversial figures, Josh Duggar has filed a formal request for a court-appointed attorney. The former 19 Kids and Counting star, now 37, claims that he is no longer able to afford legal representation as he continues his efforts to overturn his 2022 conviction for receiving and possessing child sexual abuse materials, CSAM. In a handwritten letter to the judge, first obtained by People magazine, Duggar made the startling admission that he has run out of funds to maintain his legal defense. "I am unable to afford counsel due to my current financial circumstances," he wrote. The letter not only seeks legal assistance, but also outlines Duggar's intent to file a post-conviction motion, potentially alleging constitutional violations during his trial that, if proven, could result in his conviction being vacated or amended. This latest development adds yet another chapter to the long and tumultuous saga surrounding Duggar, whose fall from grace has been as public as his early rise to fame. As he sits behind bars at a federal correctional facility in Texas, Duggar appears determined to exhaust every legal avenue available to him. A reality star turned convicted felon. To understand the magnitude of this latest filing, it is necessary to revisit the life and public image Josh Duggar once cultivated and how it ultimately unraveled. Josh Duggar was catapulted into the spotlight as the eldest child of Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, the fundamentalist Christian parents at the heart of the TLC reality series 19 Kids and Counting. The show, which aired from 2008 to 2015, followed the lives of the Duggar family and their ever-growing household. Viewers were drawn in by the family's conservative values, religious devotion, and strict lifestyle, one that emphasized modesty, homeschooling, and abstinence before marriage. For a time, Josh seemed to personify the values his family promoted. He married Anna Keller in 2008, and the couple quickly began building a family of their own. Duggar even took on a high-profile role with the Family Research Council, a conservative lobbying group, further aligning himself with right-wing Christian political causes. But in 2015, the facade crumbled. A scandal that ended a TV dynasty. In May 2015, In Touch Weekly published a bombshell report revealing that Josh Duggar had molested 5 underage girls, including several of his own sisters, when he was a teenager. The report, based on a redacted police report obtained through a Freedom of Information Act request, stunned fans and provoked national outrage. Duggar publicly admitted to the allegations, saying in a statement, "12 years ago, as a young teenager, I acted inexcusably." The backlash was swift and severe. TLC pulled 19 Kids and Counting from its schedule and eventually canceled the show altogether. The network later launched a spin-off, Counting On, focusing on Duggar's sisters, particularly Jessa and Jill, but the damage to the Duggar brand had been done. Later that same year, another scandal emerged when Duggar was named in the Ashley Madison data breach. The site, which facilitates extramarital affairs, exposed Duggar as a registered user. In a public confession, he admitted to being unfaithful to his wife and struggling with a pornography addiction. Though he voluntarily entered rehab in the aftermath, Duggar's credibility and influence within conservative circles took a major hit. Many wondered if his public career was over. The federal case, arrest, trial, and conviction. Josh Duggar's legal troubles intensified in April 2021 when he was arrested by federal agents in Arkansas. The charges, receiving and possessing child sexual abuse materials, CSAM, came after an investigation by Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, that had been underway since 2019. The graphic nature of the materials involved, combined with Duggar's previous scandals, reignited national outrage and drew intense media coverage. According to federal prosecutors, Duggar had downloaded materials from the dark web using a partitioned operating system on his work computer at the car dealership he managed. Forensic analysts testified that Duggar used a hidden password-protected partition to download and view some of the most disturbing content HSI agents had encountered. The digital trail was traced back to Duggar through IP addresses and device usage logs. During his trial, which began in November 2021, Duggar's legal team argued that someone else could have accessed the computer. They suggested that other employees had access to the office and that the forensic evidence presented by the prosecution was not definitive proof of Duggar's guilt. However, the jury was not convinced. On December 9, 2021, after about 7 hours of deliberation, Duggar was found guilty on both counts. In May 2022, he was sentenced to 12 years and 7 months in federal prison, followed by 20 years of supervised release. He was also ordered to pay fines and register as a sex offender upon release. He is currently serving his sentence at FCI Segoville, a low-security federal correctional institution in Texas that houses inmates convicted of nonviolent crimes, including sex offenses. Following his conviction, Duggar's legal team swiftly filed an appeal with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit. The defense raised several legal issues, including claims that the court erred in denying the defense's attempt to suppress certain evidence and allegations that the trial court improperly restricted cross-examination of key government witnesses. However, in 2023, the Eighth Circuit affirmed Duggar's conviction, finding that the district court had not abused its discretion and that the forensic evidence was appropriately admitted. In a final push, Duggar petitioned the U.S. Supreme Court to review his case. But in 2024, the Supreme Court declined to hear his appeal, effectively closing off his direct appellate options. Now, with conventional appeals exhausted, Duggar is pivoting to a new legal strategy: post-conviction relief. The letter, a plea for legal help. On May 28, 2025, Duggar submitted a handwritten letter to the judge overseeing his case, requesting that the court appoint him a new attorney. His reason? Financial hardship. "I am unable to afford counsel due to my current financial circumstances," he wrote, according to People. In the same letter, Duggar said he wished to consult with new legal counsel to determine whether there may be constitutional violations that could form the basis of a motion to vacate his conviction. If appropriate, he continued, the attorney would prepare a motion to vacate, set aside, or correct my conviction and sentence. This type of motion falls under 28 U.S. Code Section 2255, a statute that allows federal prisoners to challenge their conviction or sentence on grounds such as violation of constitutional rights, lack of jurisdiction by the sentencing court, errors of law that resulted in a miscarriage of justice, ineffective assistance of counsel. In his letter, Duggar hinted at all of the above. He cited complex constitutional and evidentiary issues during his trial and criticized the handling of forensic evidence. He also alleged that prosecutors failed to fully disclose certain evidence to his defense team, an accusation that, if proven, could amount to a Brady violation, which refers to the prosecution's failure to disclose exculpatory evidence. Financial desperation, or legal strategy. Duggar's claim of financial hardship is notable given his family's past public image of prosperity. During the heyday of 19 Kids and counting, the Duggars were seen as financially successful, reportedly earning tens of thousands of dollars per episode and receiving various sponsorship deals, speaking engagements, and book deals. However, Duggar has not had a source of steady income since his arrest, and legal fees from a high-profile federal case can be overwhelming. With 3 years behind bars and several children at home, it's plausible that his personal and family finances have been significantly depleted. Requesting a court-appointed attorney under such circumstances is not uncommon. Under the Criminal Justice Act, defendants who can demonstrate indigency are entitled to legal representation at government expense. If the court grants Duggar's request, a new attorney from the Federal Public Defender's Office or a panel attorney from the CJ list would be assigned to handle his case.